I've had good times, I've had bad times. I've done some crazy ass shit, and I've done some good stuff in my life too. And I can honestly say that these 5 books totally changed my life. All for the better. None of these books made me worse. They only made me become a better person, where I was able to see my flaws, learn about somebody, learn about something about history, and implement that in my life. If you're searching for something right now that will help you become a better human, a better father, a better mother, a better sister, a better daddy, whatever it may be, I think one of these 5 books really will help you do that. All 5? That's a book bingo right there, baby. So why don't you sit back, relax, and let's go deep into the 5 books that changed my life. To the Top is brought to you by the Realty Medics and Andretti Indoor Karting and Games of Orlando. Hello and welcome to another edition of To the Top. I'm your host, Carlos Alberto Navarro. To the Top is a show that makes you think, make you laugh, whatever it may be. And today's one of those that might make you think, because it's the 5 books that changed my life. Now, these are not the 5 greatest books I've ever read. Some of them are. I don't even have like a straight up list of the 5 greatest books I've ever read. I love reading. I try to always have a book to read. I'm reading like 3 different books right now. It's something that's come easy to me because I've always just kind of been more interested in that world of writing and reading. Now, you ask me about math and science, not too good. Not too good. And I admire people, and I'm a bit jealous of people that are really good at that side of their brain. Not me. That ain't me. I'm working at it by trying to read more. And so the 5 books that changed my life that I'm about to present to you are in no particular order. And these are books that just really stuck out to me when I read them. And they either made me look at the world differently. They made me look at my own life differently. They made me look at others differently. And a lot of them changed the way that I act and behave, because I realized, I think I may be doing something wrong, or I think I could be doing something better. So I present these 5 books that changed my life, and hopefully you connect with one of them. Hopefully you read one of them. And if you're not really into reading, you probably ain't watching this podcast. You're probably not listening to it. But if you are into reading and this is something that you enjoy, I hope that you connect with one of these books. Let's get started. And the first book I'd like to talk about, I don't even have in my hand because I basically loaned it to somebody and they never returned it. And the book is called Outliers. And what is an outlier? An outlier is essentially something that stands out amongst all other things. An outlier is by one of my favorite authors, and his name is Malcolm Gladwell. He's written a bunch of books, and it's all deals with humans and certain aspects of life. This one particularly focuses on success. And Outliers was the first book that I read that opened my mind up to the way that things are perceived and the way that things really are, and especially with success. This breaks down the success of Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. This breaks down the success of athletes, of how they are actually the reason they are able to get to these levels, and all of the different elements that you never hear about come into play. And it's done through statistics and analytics and data, and he's brilliant at telling the story in his way. Like I said, I read this many years ago, and I should probably go pick up another copy because I should dive back into it. If you're looking for a reason to if you're looking at somebody and you're going, how did they get so successful? For Bill Gates, for example, a little story in Outliers. Bill Gates was privy to being able to have access to a computer at a young age because of the work that his mother did. And he was one of maybe 10 people in the entire United States that was able to work and learn from a computer when the rest of the world was light years behind him. And so where you first hear this term, have you heard the term, it takes 10,000 hours of mastery? Well, that comes from Outliers. And he was able to get his 10,000 hours in before people had even almost checked out a computer. And you couple that with his brilliant mind, you couple that with his passion and his drive for software engineering or computers in general, and you couple that with the right parents as well as the right schooling, and all of these factors come into play to create one of the most successful people ever that have had one of the biggest impacts ever. That's actually a big story that is in Outliers, and there are several others that will really open up your eyes on why people how they get to these amazing successes in their life. I would say that was a book that I read when it first came out, and it really opened my mind, and that's why a lot of the books that I like to read deal with the human mind and deal with people and the way that they are, because I'm fascinated by people. It helps me in my own personal life. It also helps me in my acting career. So when I portray characters, I remember these things and I use them in order to really create a really full, multi-dimensional character. But I highly recommend Outliers. That is actually one of my favorite books of all time. It's by Malcolm Gladwell. If you read it, you'll love it and you'll learn a lot. The next book I want to tell you about is Mind Hacking. This is an absolutely amazing book. It's by Sir John Hargrave. I have recommended this book to so many friends, especially anybody who is trying to dealing with addiction, whether they're trying to overcome limiting beliefs or whether they're really struggling with their brain and trying to get the best out of themselves. It was written by basically a very, very well-renowned entrepreneur and an author. Sir John Hargrave is a guy who really suffered from poor mental health, and it debilitated him in many ways. And he also happened to be a kind of a computer hacker. And he breaks it down that the mind is really like a computer, and that our thoughts are very much like the HTML code, the infrastructure, or the way that things are laid out. And if you're able to acknowledge and decipher through the good and the bad, you're able to really live a much better life than if you just allow every single thought to be a permanent thought in your mind. I highly, highly recommend this if you really want to change the way that you think. And a lot of us think so negative every single day. The majority of thoughts in our brain basically, and this is something I learned in this book, they say like up to 80% the thoughts that we have on a daily basis are the same thoughts we had the day before. And in order to really open up your mind, you have to be conscious of what you're thinking about. And this is a fascinating book on basically a way to rewire your brain. And I know it's really helped me. It's helped me in many different ways to be conscious of what I'm thinking about, because really what we think about eventually becomes what happens in our real life, whether it's negative or whether it's positive. And so to try and actually put forward positive thoughts in our mind and make them come to real life is something that we should all go for. It's not easy if you haven't been doing it for a long time. But this book, Mind Hacking, can absolutely help you, like I said, once again, rewire your brain. I cannot suggest this book enough, and I hope that you go out and get it. It'll help you find some happiness, help you find some peace. Mind Hacking. My next book is Robin by Dave Itzkoff. Probably pronouncing his name wrong, but a little preface on all of this. I am a Robin Williams diehard fan. I couldn't be a bigger fan of him. It's a guy that I absolutely have looked up to in his career. He has, to me, like the quintessential career. He is a comedian. He's an actor. He can do dramatic. He is loving. He can be scary. He's done some of the greatest cartoon voices of all time. And I always, after he passed, it was super heartbreaking for me and for the whole world, really. And I'd always seen some documentaries and stuff about him, and I think they actually ended up making a documentary about his life based from this book. But I like to go through the bookshop, and I bring my daughter, and I kind of go through the clearance books. And for whatever reason, this was in the clearance section. And sometimes when I see a really big book like this, I go, oh, that's a pretty big book, to be totally honest. But I realize with bigger books, if I chip away at them, instead of thinking I have to sit down and read for hours upon hours, I can get through it. And I'm so glad that I did, because this is a fascinating look into what I feel is one of the most talented artists of our time. And the reason this book changed my life is because I always had pictured him having, being so confident with his talent, being so strong with his talent, and not really, struggling in a lot of ways. Like I said, I knew a little bit about his life, but not as much detail as you're going to get with Robin. And this literally goes back to his elementary school days, and the amount of research that went into this book is mind-blowing. What I found out is that as talented as Robin was, he also lacked in so many places when it came to confidence, when it came to feeling loved, with feelings of abandonment. His father was a tough guy, but he never really kind of supported what he did. His mother was an interesting character. It's just a fascinating look at one of what I believe is one of the all-time greats in acting and a lot of things. So this book is a great read if you've been a fan of his, if you've ever been interested in his work, how he struggled with becoming a movie star, how he struggled with being accepted. It's a lot of things that we all go through, not obviously at this level, but whether it's being accepted by your family or being accepted at your workplace or getting to that next career level. It was inspiring to me. I'm always trying to get to that next level of my career. I've had success. I'm very grateful for it, but there are certain levels that I'm still personally trying to reach. And when reading this book, it really made me understand that it doesn't matter what level you get to in success. And many people would say he reached the top, the pinnacle, which he kind of did. He was always striving for more, and almost in a really negative way. And it helped me to understand, like, I have to be happy with what I have. I have to be accepting of what I have, not complacent, but definitely, definitely happy. And I'm fortunate that I am a happy guy, but at times I can be ungrateful for what I've had. And I didn't want to have that same kind of deal that Robin had. And there's a bunch of other great stuff in this book. It's not a sad story on his life. It's just a very in-depth look at what is one of the most talented people ever. If you're a fan of Robin, this book changed my life in many ways, and it could change yours as well. We'll be right back to the Top in just a second, but if you are looking to rent your home, if you want to buy a home, if you want to invest in homes, the Realty Medics is the place to go. Go to therealtymedics.com and you can see just the amazing amount of things that Tommy and his team can do for you at the Realty Medics. Like I said, they cover all of the bases. If you want somebody to manage your home, if you even have questions about real estate, Tommy, my personal good friend and the main broker at the Realty Medics and founder, is there for you. There are people that have a passion to do things in life, and Tommy's passion and their entire team is about getting you in the right home. It's about taking care of your property. It's about making sure that you feel good about your real estate investment. Go to therealtymedics.com or just give them a call. 321-947-7653, or email Tommy at therealtymedics.com. He's a huge supporter of To The Top and the message and everything we're trying to produce here. So if you're looking for any of these things, make sure to go to the Realty Medics. Now let's get back to the show. The Definitive Book of Body Language. I read this many, many years ago, and it's a pretty easy read. It's not too complicated. It's by Alan and Barbara Pease, or maybe it's Pieze, I don't know. But I remember reading this in the early 2000s, and it's when I first got into body language. And really, I wanted to read it because I'm an actor, and learning about body language, the fact is, which is something I learned in this book, is that we communicate like 80% with our body language, whether we subconsciously know it or not. And reading about every single type of body language there is fascinating. And this book breaks down everything from, handshakes to how you can how you sit with your legs, to how you cross your arms, to eyesight, to everything. I mean, I even how to read the way that people wear their glasses. There is so much to it. This book's been passed around to a lot of friends. It's missing the cover, and I'm actually missing two of the other books that I'm going to talk about today. But that's because I like to share a book if I get it. And this book, if you're interested, even if you have some social issues, let's say you got some issues with being around people or whatever. Knowing what body language means and what people are saying without verbally saying to you, it gives you a little upper hand. And I've used it time and time again to read people when I'm not too sure about them, or even when I want to know more about them in a good way. And it really breaks down the science in a very easy to read way. You don't have to read this front to back. The Definitive Book of Body Language is something that you can kind of, skip through. And if you want to learn more about I'm opening the book right now, and it's the 13 most common gestures you'll see daily, or when people are mirroring you, the 13 most common female courtship gestures and signals. I pick up this book from time to time and just go into it and start reading it because I'm fascinated by people. And a lot of these books you'll see are about the mind and people in general, because I tend to choose a lot of nonfiction books. So if you're really into fiction books, this isn't going to be the breakdown for you, because I really just love learning about people, the way that they act, the way that they think, and knowing a lot about body language can help you in so many ways. It's a pretty funny book. It's a little dated, has some like Bill Clinton jokes in here and stuff like that, but that's when it was written. But it is a absolutely, especially if you're in business, oh man, the handshakes alone can tell you so much about people. As I flip through it right now, I know that I'm going to jump back into it here again soon. So the Definitive Book of Body Language, check it out. The Laws of Human Nature is one of the books that absolutely changed my life. It's written by Robert Greene, and you will probably know him from 48 Laws of Power. That is a book that I also read, and I didn't listen to one of those rules, and man, did it screw me. I'll talk about that on another day on another podcast. But Robert Greene is just a master author of breaking down humans and what they think and why they do the things that they do. And that's basically what the Laws of Human Nature is all about. It is. I don't have it with me because that's another one that I loaned out, but it is something that you should absolutely look into. It changed my life in a couple different ways, because what the Laws of Human Nature, the book, does, it breaks down personality types. It breaks down figures in human in history. It breaks down archetypes of people, whether they are your boss or an ex-girlfriend or a friend, and why they do the things that they do. And what he has done with the amazing amount of research that he's done, he breaks it down to these laws. And you start to realize that people aren't all that different, and they fit into these personality types in different kind of ways. And so if you are somebody who is kind of, I always wonder, why does this person have to be a dick? Or why does this person have to be such a good person? Or why is this person the way that they are? The Laws of Human Nature will really, really go deep into it. He takes a story about history, he breaks it down, the good and the bad. He then really gives you a strong definition as to why they acted this way in a simplistic way, and you can actually take from that and use it for yourself. It's not just a book that tells a story and then you're wondering, okay, well, why did this tell a story? No, it tells you a story. It breaks down the law and why you should follow it in your own way to be a better person. He breaks down his own, negatives in this as well. He's not coming from this like, I've mastered this. He talks about it himself, where he needs to work on things. The book, once again, is called The Laws of Human Nature. It's a big title, but it is a fascinating book at why us crazy humans do the things that you do. And the real crazy thing is, you're going to be reading it, and if you're honest with yourself, you're going to go, oh, that's me. That's me. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I highly recommend The Laws of Human Nature. Thank you for watching To the Top. I appreciate all of your support out there, toppers. If you have a book that changed your life, leave it below in the comment. I'm always wanting to find new books that affect people in different ways. I promise I'll write back to you. And more than likely, I'll probably check out the book as well. I appreciate y'all subscribing and liking the video. And I do know one thing, today will be a great day. To the top, never stop.